Hello friends, now that we have understood the individual components of Hadoop ecosystem, now we are going to start a project which is a real-time project done in one of our client implementations where we try to bring all these individual components together so that you get a real sense of how projects are implemented and how these ecosystem components they play together with each other. In this particular scenario, which we are going to talk about, we are going to use several of the components like Hive, Scoop, even do some advanced things in Hive like Hive UDF, used Hue on a Cloudera Quick Start VM. So let me explain you about the project. This project is a very common scenario in many of the companies. This project is about data masking. What does data masking mean? In companies and corporates, usually data is a very secure and private information, very valuable entity, and it has to be secured in many cases, especially in scenarios where we are dealing with something called as PII data, which is called personally identified information. What is a PII data? PII data is something which can uniquely identify a person. For example, if you have a phone number of a person, you know the person. If you have the email address of a person, you know exactly that person. But if you know the city of a person, you don't know the individual person, and that's why it's not personally identifiable information. The importance of PII is in companies which have several environments for the projects, like a development environment, stage environment, and production environment. And one of our clients in such a scenario which had a three environment setup. And what happens many times, the data from the production instances is brought into the stage instances. And when that real data is copied into a staging instance, testing instance, it has a lot of risk being taken away by competitors, misused, or some automated process running on that data and sending alerts and email to actual customers, which could be a big havoc in the industry. So there are various scenarios, as you see, where data has to be masked or preserved so that it's not visible in the test and the staging environment. And this was happened to be one of the scenarios with one of the Fortune 500 companies where we worked and implemented this scenario. This is very common, though it's not just of this client implementation, but very commonly. So what we have done is here to try to give you that real taste of the real life project. We have provided you with two sides of information. In the client scenario, we would have done for hundreds of tables. You have been provided with two particular entities, accounts information, and the contact information. The PI data which we'll be using in this case is phone number and email address. So your goal would be to mask, basically make chunk characters or encrypt this two information in the staging environment so that nobody can easily see it or misuse it. So the exercise would be going through this process of flow. We'll be talking about this flow in a little bit once we explain the actual detailed design for this project, and briefly just wanted to introduce you with the project and what it entails. If you want to understand a little more about what PII information is, you can go to this particular link on Wikipedia and it would provide all this information and detail about it. So it's an interesting project. Let's get started with it.